Hi, everybody. We are live. I don't have my usual microphone, so maybe the audio quality is not as good as usual. I'm using, the internal microphone of a laptop, but hopefully is, good enough. So this is. Once again a new episode of Feature Showcase Live. Normally it's on Tuesday at 6 p.m., but this week exceptionally is on Wednesday, and this is going to be the last episode of the season. And the plan is to start a new season after the summer. We were talking about permissions during the last three episodes, and again, today we will continue that, and this is going to be the last episode about permissions. If you are new, this is again a feature showcase live every Tuesday, normally we discuss deeply a feature about DaDaBIK, no code, low code platform that you can use to build typically internal tools in with little or no coding. My name is Eugenio Tacchini, and I'm the founder of DaDaBIK. If you haven't downloaded DaDaBIK yet, here you can find the URL to start a 30-day free trial, dadabik.com/download. Okay, I think we can start. And here I have my old page with all the permissions, all the mm, topics related to permissions I wanted to discuss. And basically, during the last episodes, we discussed all of these topics. So we introduced the topic, we discussed about table and field permissions, we discussed about custom page permissions, custom button permissions. Now we will focus on row level permissions. So one thing is to say, for example, that a particular user group cannot delete records from a particular table, or cannot edit a particular field. Here instead, we are working about the rows. So we want to limit the rows. Some particular user can see, modify, delete any kind of permission you may think. All right. The first, we have two subtopics, let's say, owner permission and custom row filter permissions. Let's talk about owner permissions. As usual, I'm going to use the inventory system app I created with DaDaBIK. It's a very simple inventory system management application. And what about owner permissions? So here we want to set the permissions based on the owner of the record. What is the owner of the record? In DaDaBIK, the concept of owner is the following one. The user who created a record is the owner. Okay? So, for example, you can say that for the table customers, users can only see the records they created, or they can see all the records, but they can edit only the records they created. Okay, this is an example. So to implement that, first of all, we need to add a field to the table we want to set the permissions for, the owner permissions for, to store the owner of the record. Let me show an example. So let's focus on customers. Okay, customer is a good example. Customers here. Okay, so we add a field. We call it username user. And in this field, I will tell you how in a moment, DaDaBIK will automatically insert the username of the user who created the record. So we need a short text, nullable, yes, because we already have some records that at the moment don't have any value for this field, right? So save change. Then we move to the form configurator, and we set for username user the field type ID user. The field type ID user. What is ID user? What's the meaning of that? A field type ID user means exactly what I said before. So when DaDaBIK sees a field type ID user, it knows that when you create a new record, the username of the current user will be used to fill that field, username user. Okay, so save. And one important thing we have to do about permissions is to exclude the username user field from the insert form. Why? Because as we said before, the field is automatically set. The field value is automatically set by the by DaDaBIK. All right. Okay. So permissions. Let's check. Let's do it just for admin for the moment. Okay, username user has permission now for all the operations. Let's say that we want to see it in the results grid. We want to see it in the edit form, but disabled. We don't want to see it in the create form. Yes, details and maybe yes in advanced search and in CSV. Okay, good. So now let's try to create a new customer, like Bob at bob.com. As you can see, the username user field is not here because we decided not to show it in the creation form, and country USA, and that's it. All right, username user, as you can see, has been automatically set by DaDaBIK as root because right now I'm logged in as root. Okay, so now that we have this field, we can work on permissions using owner permissions. So, well, let me set this to yes. Yes for customers and admin. Okay, so far the customers, the admin group, the users belonging to the admin group can do everything on customers. But let's say that we want them to see, so read only my records. So each user can only see the records they inserted. Save. Here we go. Now, root can only see this record because it's the only one having username user as root. You have the my option also on delete and on edit. Let's try them. So let's go back to read yes, but delete my. So this means that as a user belonging to the admin group, I can see all the customers, but I can only delete the records I created. All right, so save. Now I can see everything, right? But if I try to delete this record, for example, that I'm not the owner, I get an error. If I try to delete this record instead, the one I created, I can do it. Okay, and the same for edit. So this was, the owner or my permissions. That's something in addition that I want to tell you. You have these config parameters, use ID group for ownership, that by default is 0. If you set it to 1, instead of the username of the user, if you have an ID user field type, DaDaBIK stores the ID of the group. Okay? So all the my permissions are not based on the user, but on the group the user belongs to. Pay attention when you use this function, when you use this parameter, because if you change the parameter when the application is already in production, you will end up in an inconsistent situation where for a username, for an ID user field, some of the values are usernames of users, some others are ID group, and obviously this is not going to work. All right, good. So this was the ownership permission. Now let's talk about custom row level permissions. Every time you need a more complex logic for deciding which rows a user should be able to see, then you need a row level custom filter. Well, this is not row level custom filter. It didn't sound right, and in fact, row level custom filter is the correct term for this kind of permissions. Let me give you an example. So I don't know, you have a multi-tenant application. You have several I don't know, managers, several users, and each one, for example, can only see the sales related to a particular geographic area. For example, you can do that. We will see that you can actually implement a very complex logic if you want, because it's just pure PHP and SQL that you can create and add as a custom filter. The example I'm going to use here is the following one. Very simple, just to show you how it works, but it could be as complex as you want. I'm going to work on movements. The movements table contains a date field, right? And we are going to do something like that. Let's say that if the user logged in belongs to a particular group, let's say to the group manager, then the user can see all the movements. Otherwise, the user can see only the movements related to the current year. So today it would be 2024. Okay, here we have we have movements related to 2 years, 2023 and 2024. So how can we do that? we need some code in this case, while the other case was completely no code. We need to go to the custom filter functions.php file and write our custom filter. Let me check on the manual because sometimes custom filters, yeah. Sometimes even if I'm the author, I can forget the syntax of some feature. I remembered well, so we need to add a custom filter key, well, a new key to the custom filter array, and in particular here we write movements, because that's the table we want to apply the custom filter to. So custom filters, movements, and here we type the name of the function. It must start with DaDaBIK underscore. We are going to use to define our filter. And we can call it, the name is up to you, DaDaBIK custom filter movements, for example. And here we write the function. So how does the function work? So the function should return a so-called where clause, so an additional filter to add to the query, to the SQL query that DaDaBIK executes when you read the data from a table. Maybe to understand better this part, I may display SQL just for a moment. Display SQL equal to 1. This is good only if you are debugging. Don't use it in production. Display SQL equal to 1. Basically, right here, the query that DaDaBIK executes when in this case, when I click on products or suppliers or customers, and so on and so forth. So basically, what we are going to do here is to tell DaDaBIK what to add here as filter, as where clause, if you're familiar with SQL, that will be added on the top of any other where clause you already have. So maybe you have already some where clause because you are searching for something. DaDaBIK will add an and the logic, the filter we will define here. Let's go back to 0 here. So first of all, we need to know who is, so to which group the current user belongs to. Okay, to do that, we can use the global variable current ID group. It's one of the global variable always available in DaDaBIK, and it contains the ID group of the user currently logged in. And then we can say something like if current ID group is different than, I don't remember, we said manager's ID group is 3, is different than 3. I use quotes because current ID group contains a string. It's a number, but from the point of view of the PHP data structure is a string. Then do something. Otherwise, do something else. Okay? So here is not a manager. User is not a manager. User is a manager. So if the user is a manager, then the user can see everything. So we need to use a little trick to say don't add anything as filter, because this function always needs to return a filter rule. So we have to return 1 equal 1, which is a trick because 1 equal 1 is always true, right? So if DaDaBIK adds to the SQL query and 1 equal 1, well, it doesn't have any impact. Obviously, there are parentheses that on the first part that allow us to, to get the correct result. So this is just a trick to say, yeah, true. Don't add any filter. Instead, if it's not a manager, we want to see only the movements having as date the current year. So if we check, now we have to write SQL here. So a little bit of SQL is useful here. Movements, the field name is date, the one containing the date. So year date year is a function in SQL. We are using the MySQL dialect here, but year is pretty standard. So we are extracting only the year from a date is equal to, well, we can write 2024 here, but that would be hard-coded, so next year is not going to work. We have to update it, so we can do something more smart. Core date, this in SQL for MySQL returns the current date. So we extract the year from the current date, so from the today's date. Okay. So if the year of the date of the movement is equal to the year of the current date, then this will be true, and the function will return true. So that means, yes, you can read this record. If they are different, this will return false. The record cannot be read, because basically, like from the Boolean point of view, to the query will be added and false, okay, which makes the whole query false, and so the record won't be selected. Let's see if it works. So now I'm logged in as root. Root is not a manager, right? Because root is belongs to the admin group. All right, so as you can see now, I see only 1,400 blah 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 records, only movements in 2024. Okay, if we try to log in as Bob is a manager, we see much more records, because we see both records from 2023 and records from 2024. All right. So this was an example of row level custom filter, a very simple example, but this is, pure PHP and SQL. So you can make it as complex as you want. There's basically no limit, as often happens with custom functions in DaDaBIK. So I would say that's it for today, and that's it for permissions, and that's it for the this first season of Feature Showcase Live. So I wish you a very good summer, and I see you for this live, because for other videos, we will publish other videos in the near future. But for this live streaming, we will see, I see you after the summer. Okay? So that's it for today, and see you next time. Ciao!